Friends and enemies, welcome back. CBP number 195, Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to you and your family and your friends and the Bitcoiners everywhere. And a special Merry Christmas to people who have no Bitcoin. My name's Joey. That's Len. What's going on? How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
Joey, it's the pre-coiners. They could, bless them, I guess, if you want to say that. But the no-coiners, what the heck could you say to them? Krugers of the world, the shift. He says that, he says he's a no-coiner, but I probably don't think I think he stacks secretly.
You think he's got some? I think he's probably got some too. It's like almost irresponsible for him not to have any with all this exposure he gets through social media. I'm sure he's got something.
Mm-hmm. He knows about it. And Shift Gold, if you go to his website, they accept Bitcoin for gold. So what does he do with the Bitcoin? Sure, he probably converts some of it to cash for his operating costs, but maybe he's keeping a little bit of it. And given he knows about the technicals and all the fundamentals surrounding it, why would he not hold just even a small bit? And he doesn't have to have a lot, just a few hundred sats.
Pride?
A few million.
Pride?
Well, I think that guy's pride on the surface, but if you scratch and you dig down deep, I think there's more than meets the eye. He'll never say it. He's stacking. Why would he? This is now his shifts.
His Peter shtick. Whatever. We got lots to talk about tonight. I think anyway. I don't know how long we're gonna go, but first we'll talk about the sponsors. EasyDNS.
We'll revisit the 4-hour episode.
Right. Best place for you to host your content. Bring your website over. Buy a domain off of Mark. He is the friendly neighborhood domain registrar. You can't beat EasyDNS. Why? The pricing, the guarantee, money back. Not that anyone ever uses it, but you could if you wanted to. Not to mention that your domain is always going to be secure over there thanks to Domain Sure and a number of other precautions being taken on the EasyDNS platform that you just don't see other places. Me and Len do the Access of Easy podcast every week, and there are tons of big companies that are not doing anything as far as security, anything as far as protecting their customers from getting spoofed by people who snipe similar domains and take other nefarious tactical measures to grab data and cash from people, which obviously you want to have at your disposal. And that's what Mark will do for you. Not only that, but like we say all the time, unassailable, like the name of his book. Your stuff will not be taken down short of some incredibly egregious offenses. You'll be fine. And obviously Mark has been a friend of the show for a long time, so we hope you support him the same way he has supported us. And I know a lot of you guys have. If you haven't yet, go buy a domain, port a domain, whatever. You want to start a B2C pay server, shindig. You want to do a node, Nostr relay, you name it. Mark has got you covered there on the VPS side as well. EasyDNS, use the promo code CBP Media, or just tell them we sent you, and you get 50% off your first round of buy. So load the cart, man. Load the cart.
Did you hear him on not simply Bitcoin, Bitcoin Mentors?
Mentor today. No, I didn't. I had a busy day, not related to my job, but related to my young daughter. She has entered her fussy phase, I think. So
it's her first Christmas too. So it's a little bit of everything is going on. So yeah, Mark did a great job. Ben was on there as well, aside from Nathan, and a few people jumped on stage. Mark did a great job talking about Bitcoin, why it's so good, and his transition from being a gold bug to a Bitcoiner. It was a good listen. So
it's huge. It's huge.
I don't know if it's been recorded. If it was, I suggest anybody out there give it a listen. But
for sure,
good. Yeah, let's talk about Bull Bitcoin. Look, it's the time for giving, the time for taking, depending if you're in one mood or the other. Bull Bitcoin, they'll help you out either for giving or taking. If you want to buy from them or if you want to sell to them, they'll be able to. But not just that, like, let's be honest, this is a time where it's a good time to start introducing Bitcoin to people, your friends and families. So you can start buying Bitcoin through Bull Bitcoin and gifting that to your friends and families and your pre-coiners in your life. Your no-coiners, they could just F off. And options you could do with Bull Bitcoin, aside from buying and selling on-chain or Lightning, you could start paying your bills, right? It's their bills service. And if you have, say, like a cell phone bill or a car payment, you could use your Bitcoin. So it's sitting at 47,000 right now. So it's a decent price considering the run-up we've had. So I guess a lot of us purchased it a lot less than what it's priced right now. So it gives you an opportunity to start using it and pay your bills. Another thing you could do is you could buy these gift cards through them, and like you got to go buy from Amazon. Everybody's buying from Amazon these days, right? So why not use your Bitcoin to buy those gift cards? And so you could make those Amazon purchases with your Bitcoin. But not just that, there's other things you could buy from them for gift cards. So you could almost live on a Bitcoin standard, so to speak. That'd be pretty damn cool for everybody that has done that. I'll be honest, I have not, but I'm just stacking away. I like stacking, but check our promo code if you haven't yet done so. If you haven't opened an account, $21 will be added to your account. No questions asked. Bull Bitcoin, check them out.
Totally. Decentral Tech, our last sponsor. What a company. These guys have gone from a hobby shop to one of the most popular places to buy and interact with the home mining industry. It's been incredible, man. The stuff these guys have pumped out. I see a couple of you guys in the chat talking about how you received your bid axes. I saw a number of tweets over the last little while, some posts in Discord over the last little while. There was a hang up with the shipping, but man, once you get these things, you are not disappointed. And I'm glad that they're here before Christmas. Hashing solo, easy. You want to join a pool, easy. You got a problem with your board, easy. Give them a call. You got a problem with your bid axe, call them. You want to repair, you want something new, you want to heat your house. You want to piss your neighbors off, no problem. He's got you over there. If you want to make your neighbors happy, no problem. He's got you there too. And whether you want to make a lot of noise, generate a lot of heat, or the opposite, Decentral Tech can take care of you. No promo code. Go over, buy a hash board, buy a miner, buy a home heating setup, and don't forget, man, good Canadian company. These guys are doing the best they can, and they're growing like crazy. We've enjoyed working with them so far. And I hope you guys enjoy your bid axes too. I'm hyped on that. So I know I have one here. Len's got one. A few you guys have one as well. There might be still a few available. I'm not sure, but if there is, definitely go check them out. Because if not, we're gonna buy them up. And
did you upgrade your firmware on your bid axe? Mine came with an older.
A couple of days ago, there was an update, right?
I don't know when, but I just did it. I went on the BidAxe OS page, and from there you could check it, download it, and you can.
Very simple. You can actually do it right in the browser on your computer, and it'll go right to the BidAxe if you have it connected via USB. It's so easy to use, guys. Honest to God. So yeah, definitely check them out. Len, where do you want to go next? Boosts, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do boosts. Like Wartime has been sending us a ton of boosts, but let's do this first one. JPEG 81. Great name, JPEG 81. And he says currently #1 track on Fountain, and points to one of our episodes. I had no idea we got to that point.
Nice. Hey.
Yeah, people.
CBP has a faithful listener base, man. I will say that seeing the amount of money that goes through the Bull promo code, you guys do not fuck around when it comes to your Bitcoin obsession, and it shows in the listening numbers, it shows in the growth of the community, and it shows in the Fountain charts too, I guess, which is nice. We've been #1 or close on Fountain a few times, I think, over the years. But I never look. I'm guilty of not checking the Fountain thing often enough.
Whatever it fucking goes, it goes. If it's high or low, it doesn't change my opinion of anything. Just I'll keep doing this recording every Monday. Totally. Wednesday. Wartime, 3 different times he sent in 333 sats. So I'll just go through the 3 messages, and it's just all pictures or emojis. Beer mug and heart is one. Beer mug is another one. Nice. And a heart and a beer mug is the third one. So he's missing the heart by itself.
Is he bracketing them? Are we getting like some bracket action here? No,
no, it's just one at a time. So like
interesting.
Wartime, you could reduce your sats to 333 sats, and you could send us the heart by itself next time. So you could get all 4 of them done. So check, that's an idea.
I love it.
Appreciate the sats. And Mo BTC Dick, 500 sats. I've successfully got my brother and dad investing in Bitcoin.
Love it.
Problem is they're using ETFs. So they're not investing in Bitcoin. They're investing in something that's related to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's all in fiat dollars, right? I can't seem to make them see enough risk in self-custody for cold, hard corn. Any tips? I mean, only thing I suggest is look what's happened in our nation's capital.
You could show them. I'll tell you what you could show them. From the economic statement, there's a thing about taxes and how the government is still reviewing whether or not crypto investments, including the ETFs, I would imagine, should be eligible for tax exemptions in your TFSA. The government hates crypto. I'm going to use crypto here as an umbrella term. The government hates crypto because it is a threat to their hegemony and the strength of the dollar in terms of the enforcement of laws and the payment of taxes and all these things. And so, the government can say whatever they want about this thing not competing. It's for black market only. It's for this, for that. But they're really treating it like a threat. And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. And so whether it's an attack in terms of we're going to take the coin under custody by the ETF holders, or it's something as simple as this little incentive shift that's being planned or at least discussed, we're not going to allow people to buy this stuff in their TFSA and RRSPs. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well. There's a budding sort of group of enemies coming now that this thing is sort of hit the mainstream. I don't expect it to slow down. I actually expect it to speed up, even in the States with the Trump admin.
It's interesting. I was just going to bring that up. And so you're still thinking even with them coming in.
Yeah.
Interesting. To be honest, with respect to that, I have no opinion. I just say, look what's happening in Canada. And
it's hard for me to imagine that these guys, sorry to cut you off. It's hard, like, just to finish the thought, it's hard for me to imagine that this thing continues to explode, especially in terms of price. And the guys at the top of the food chain don't start to realize how dangerous it is. Like, maybe they're positive on it for now, but it's not going to be that way. It almost inevitably and invariably has to go the other way at some point.
Oh, fuck them. You know what to do. You know how to do it. And if you don't, right, like, there's enough information out there. There's enough resources you could tap into to get this thing done. And if you don't choose to do it, it's on you. But I would imagine 95% of everybody watching.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm of that opinion. I hope that's the case. If not, man, oh man, like, I'll be happy.
You're gonna have heartburn if not.
No, I'm not. It doesn't change my life. I'll be honest. My life changes not one iota, given what happens to other people's wealth. Right? If they invest in Bitcoin or something that could potentially get rugged, it changes nothing for me. I can only control my destiny. They can have control theirs. I feel bad for them, but I could lead the horse to the water. It's up to them to drink.
Yeah.
And I'll do it time and time again. I'll just try to make them drink. Yeah. A lot of Merry Christmases going on. So
yeah, we love you guys, man. I appreciate all the comments in the chat. It makes this whole thing worth it. That and the incredible wealth that we're accumulating here, buying Bitcoin at the highs over and over again.
What's funny is, think of all the effort, the energy people put into studying charts, reading information on companies.
Just buy.
Doing
like, you've seen that Pierre Rochard tweet, right? Like, average banker works 80 hours a week, doesn't get to see his family, gets 10%. Average Bitcoiner, shit posts all day, eats steaks, way richer.
It's just all you have to do is one fucking thing. And this is not financial advice. This is what I'm doing myself. Everybody got to do their own thing. But just buy Bitcoin and just put it into cold storage. That's it. You don't have to read charts. You don't have to study up on companies. You don't have to do shit after hours. Mine fiat, and when you're done mining fiat, allocate a little bit of that towards Bitcoin and rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
that's it. Right? The rest of your time is up to you. Whatever the fuck you want to do with it. You don't gotta do all that. I love it.
Yeah. Can't beat it. Those are the boosts. Some housekeeping here. No guest episode this week. No guest episode next week, unless for some reason I am motivated on Christmas Day in the evening to do a Bitcoin and barbells live from my weight room. But otherwise, you're not going to see anything. Yeah, that's it. It'll be the same thing next week. If I feel like lifting weights and talking to you for an hour, I might do it. And if I don't, then that's it. No problem there. I know you got some great guests booked for January. I booked 2 absolute bangers in the last 2 days. And I don't want to, make it sound like I'm shitting on the other people that I'm looking to book, but I got 2 guys who I really think people are going to like talking to, coming in January. And I'm not going to say their names, but they are very, very popular. One in the, investing space on Twitter, and one in the, I want to say, strength training space. We'll say, I won't name any names again, but, and then we also have, BTC Bab, Zach. We're going to talk to him in January about all the stuff they're doing at the Denver space. You may have seen tweets from him in the last little while. I want to talk to him because I really like Zach. He was one of the guys who used to come on the show, not the show, but the Friday spaces we used to do. And the show was a little smaller with Brandon from Green Candle. And, he always had a lot to say about Bitcoin and his journey. And now he's doing this great stuff in Denver. I want to find out what we can do here in Canada to make something similar. You got the Bitcoin Park in Nashville. Now this out in Denver. There's probably some other ones I'm missing, but we got a lot to talk about with him. And then also John Rubino, who is part of the Dollar Collapse, I think is his Substack name. or Rubinos. I can't remember what it is, but he's another guy who's been big on the collapse of fiat, the explosion in currencies and whatnot, and all this other stuff. And you know what? Since I'm in a good mood and it's Christmas Eve, I'll tell you the other two names. One of them is Phil Back on Twitter, who you may know, big finance guy, big time skeptic on a lot of shit that we've been on this program for a long time. And, I've been a fan of his since I heard him on the QTR podcast last year or the year before. And we follow each other. And so I finally reached out to him. And then Len, I got Mark Ripito coming on the show. The god of the 3x5 strength training method.
I thought when you first said it would be Mark Rippin. That's
honestly, Mark Ripito.
Holy shit.
No. Mark Ripito is going to come on the show.
Can I get Mark Rippin though?
If you can get Rippin, you can get him if you want. But I'm going to be talking to Mark Ripito in January. That's going to be on a Thursday afternoon. I can't remember what day, but he's the guy I've listened to for a long time. And if you don't listen to Starting Strength Radio, I don't know why you're not listening to it. It is the most unheralded based podcast on the planet. And I don't think anything comes particularly close. These guys do it from Wichita Falls, out in Texas there. So you know what kind of freedom-loving, gun-toting folks they are. And I'm fucking pumped to talk to him too about a lot of different things. So we got a bunch of absolute honkers coming up in January. So even after this little break we take, fucking strap in, because I am back from my newborn fog and I am ready to hop back in the saddle and really start, delivering damage to the regime at every turn. I can't wait.
Okay. Well, let's continue this fire, Joey. Let's go right into it, because unless you have any other things you want to knock off.
That's it. Let's fucking go.
This is going to be a 6-hour episode, I think. Actually, to be honest, I got a lot to talk about. The first thing that we should knock off here is the IMF, right? This news from the IMF and El Salvador, it is very interesting. Still developing, I think. I think the most of the pieces that had to have moved on the chessboard have been moved, but still, in terms of what's going to happen at the mid and end game, a lot has to be decided. The gist of it is the IMF, they've agreed to loan out a few $1 billion. I think initially it's like 1 point something billion.
But it could be last week. If you don't have the numbers here, you can go back to last week's episode, listener, viewer, and just catch it, because we did talk about the data in terms of the numbers last week, but there's been some other developments since then.
Well, 3.5 billion is the number that it's going to, that's the maximum. These are credits they're going to be getting from the IMF, and nothing comes free, right? Like if you have to accept something, you have to give up something. What did what did El Salvador give up to the IMF? Well, there's a few things that has to do with Bitcoin. Seems like the IMF is really pissed off with Bitcoin. And if this is the thing they want to have given or taken away from El Salvador, that goes to show you how much the Bitcoin.
It's not a threat, Len. Black market only, drugs only, not a threat.
So I'll just rhyme them off. So we have taxes now are only applicable or payable in
US dollars.
USD. No more Bitcoin can be paid we can't use Bitcoin to pay taxes in El Salvador. The Chivo wallet, this is going to be mothballed. That was one of the requests or demands by the IMF. And third big one was Bitcoin payments are now going to be voluntary for private sector businesses. Public sector, nil. You can only use US dollar moving forward. There's no option to use Bitcoin. But I just want to do a quick breakdown of all of these three things. We have the payment of taxes in USD. This is only for income taxes, I think, like property taxes, income taxes, and shit like that.
Yeah.
If this also applies to VAT, because there is a VAT or VAT, value-added tax, that's available or applicable to El Salvador purchases, I think it's 13% on certain goods and services, that's going to create a real problem, because then you'd have to then make payment in USD and Bitcoin if you touch.
Right.
So that's a killer for Bitcoin if that's the case. I don't know if it is. I'm just throwing this out there because I just don't know if this also applies to VAT. If it does, it just essentially makes Bitcoin paying in that a no.
This is good. You're always on top of the stories here, but you never give your opinion. And this is the thing that everyone's thinking about.
Oh, there's more to come.
The DCA, are they buying Bitcoin with the money?
We will get into that. We will certainly get into that, Joey. It's a slow build up here. Doing the I don't want to say
massaging to the climax. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. Yeah.
So again, like as I mentioned, if you do have to pay your taxes in USD, then if you buy something in Bitcoin, it just creates it's just problematic. Anyways, there's no stopping folks in El Salvador from converting their Bitcoin to US dollars and then using that to pay their federal taxes, income taxes, property taxes, all that shit. To the best of my knowledge, El Salvador still has $0 capital gains tax on Bitcoin. So converting it, there's no tax hit. from that. So the option still exists. Yeah, this relies on banks. I understand that. Yeah, it's an extra step, but the door hasn't closed on this in total. I'm just trying to say it is there. I know we Bitcoiners, we want to try to separate ourselves from banks, but this is one of the now options moving forward if you want to use your Bitcoin to pay taxes there. The Chivo wallet, getting the axe, right? Whatever, right? This hasn't been a raging success. Everything I've read so far, the Chivo wallet hasn't been all that well adopted. I'll get some statistics here. By mid-2022, for instance, more than 60% of Chivo wallet users, they had yet to have made a transaction. Although they were given them money, the $30, but they were yet to have made a transaction by mid-2022. And by 2023, it was found that 88% of surveyed Salvadorians never used Bitcoin. That's by 2023. 88% of Salvadorians never use Bitcoin, right? So the IMF, if they want to strong arm them into getting rid of the Chivo wallet, good move, IMF. I mean, fantastic move. You picked the right one. Apparently, Chivo potentially could be sold off too, right? So if this is done, I mean, whoever wants to buy it, I mean, I don't know who would want to buy this thing, but if they do, maybe the proceeds could be used to buy some more Bitcoin moving forward, right? Potentially, they're going to get some money coming in. What are they going to do with it? So let's talk about Bitcoin payments here, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's voluntary for businesses. For public sector, it's not. For private, it is voluntary. So if a business values Bitcoin, they're going to accept it. Plain, that's it. They're going to accept it. Or if they don't value it, they're not going to accept it. Have fun staying poor. But this may end up being like, the end of buying a Big Mac in El Salvador using Lightning. I think this might be the end of it. We'll see moving forward. We'll see which businesses are pro Bitcoin and which ones are not, because it's voluntary. It's up to them to pick. You can choose if they want to use it or not. But even after this move, all this willing and dealing with the IMF, El Salvador is reportedly buying more Bitcoin. They scooped up 11 Bitcoin in one day this past week. That's more than they typically buy. And if you could look at this whole news, I think it's within a couple of different hats. We have the Bitcoiner hat and the Salvadorian hat, right? We can't discount the Salvadorian side of things. So the Bitcoiner that has a direct investment in El Salvador or plans to, they're likely pissed, right? There are folks out there that probably invested a great deal of money so far.
It was like 4 Bitcoin or something to get a citizenship there. And now you're getting, now you're living in a state, the 51st IMF state, basically, right? Like, it's not great.
Those people are pissed, and rightfully so, right? Because they were sold a false bill of goods. And let's be honest, there are people that are even wanting to establish roots in El Salvador. There was the El Salvador Freedom Visa Program. There was also expedited citizenship through donations to the government for social or economic development programs, such as you mentioned right there, or other programs. So people have put their fucking money where their mouth is. They wanted to get, so
you had to buy land, you had to give Bitcoin, there was a number of different things you could have done to become basically an economic migrant to El Salvador.
And it wasn't a free thing.
How many times have I been to meetups? The optometrist, I know you're listening or watching, all the guys like the optometrist and his wife, brave souls for taking the plunge, but there was warning signs here all along the way. We talked about them on this show.
Warnings. Look, let's be honest.
I don't think we ever said it was going to go this way, but I do think I don't think, I know that I said that there's no way this has a higher chance of being successful coming from the government down as it does if it comes from the ground up. And you see,
there's more.
Now. I know
there's more to it because we're dealing with a political person here, right? And that goes with the El Salvador hat, right? So, but I mean, I just want to tie a bow on this Bitcoin side of things, a Bitcoiner, because there's people out there that had high hopes of a Bitcoin future in El Salvador. Now this has been dashed. They were given the short end of the stick. But there are Bitcoiners out there who have never or will never go to El Salvador, and they're pissed off from this. They have no connection to El Salvador. They have no direct skin in the game, so to speak. They're pissed. Yeah, it sucks we lost a country that is the only Bitcoin country out there that's using as legal tender. But you got to take a step back here, and then that you have to put on the Salvadorian hat, right? And there are people out there. We had an election last year, I think it was beginning of last year, or earlier this year, Bukele ran again
Yeah.
to be president, and he had to jump through hoops in order to get it. And we talked about this at great length with Jaime Garcia. Thank you, Jaime. And actually, I talked to him offline about this too, not just him getting elected, but what happened this past week with IMF. But either way, there are people that voted for Bukele, and Bukele's job, I could be wrong, I believe it's to be the political leader of El Salvador, and he has to represent each citizen to the best of his ability, and maybe his residents too, but his citizens mostly. So this money from the IMF, right? It could be used. I'm not saying for sure. It could be used to make the country better. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But he is doing his job as a political figure. The track record of the IMF is spotty at best. And anybody they get involved with, it's fucking brutal. But so this remains to be seen if this is going to turn into a raging success, is borrowing up to $3.5 billion. But this could potentially unlock government capital that was previously earmarked for projects. But now they could potentially buy more Bitcoin. They bought 11 Bitcoin in one day this past week. So maybe this is a possibility. So ultimate goal, if they do that, that would be giving the middle finger to the IMF, which would be great. But even if El Salvador didn't need the money, which it seems like they do, they had a tool available to them at their disposal, Bitcoin, right? And it allowed them to keep this through this. They were able to parlay some things. They never sold their Bitcoin through all this. They still have it. And still with that, they're taking on debt in a depreciating currency, USD. This is, the way I look at it, the sailor move, but in a different light. I'm not saying it is a sailor move, but in essence, they're taking on debt in USD and hanging on to their Bitcoin, maybe buying more with all this. But again, let's see how this shit plays out. This is a long-term thing. We probably won't even see the end result for a decade or longer before we see what happens. Bukele, he is and will always be a politician. He may be a Bitcoin politician, but remember, he's still a politician, right? And we've seen this shit before. Eric Adams, Francis Suarez, the road, Joey, is littered with folks like this.
The corpses of Bitcoin politicians.
So that's it. That's my opinion. As a Bitcoiner, it sucks.
Do you really think? Okay,
I don't have skin in the game here.
Do you really think that this guy is buying Bitcoin with IMF money?
Not with IMF money, but maybe the money that they have earmarked for shit like that. I'll give you an example. Like they plan to build this Bitcoin city or this volcano shit.
Yeah.
Maybe they were going to do that, but now, you know what? Rather than using their own money right now to do that, or future money from taxes, use IMF money to do that kind of stuff. And then the money that they had originally earmarked, buy Bitcoin. So they're not using the Bitcoin money, the IMF money to buy Bitcoin. They're still using their own. So they could probably still be living up to the terms and conditions of it. I don't know. Again, I have to see how this plays out over the next little while. I don't want to nail this guy to the cross right now. I don't want to say this is a good move or a bad move because I just don't know. I don't live there. I don't see what the fuck's going on over there. I am not a Salvadorian. I don't have family over there. I could say that anecdotally, it seems like a lot has improved in the past few years, a lot due to his policies. Now, it isn't strictly with Bitcoin policies. It's how he dealt with the drugs and the crime and so forth. Great for him. Great for the citizens. Is this move that's going to be closing up to the IMF? Is it going to make El Salvador a worse place in the future? It remains to be seen. But I have hopes it's going to be better.
I think it's done. And the reason I think it's done is because the IMF, there's two kinds of deal you cut with an international organization like the IMF. One is the public deal that has minor concessions, like we're going to unwind Chivo, which was a bad idea from the start and lacked functionality as far as I remember. Concessions like we're not going to make private vendors take Bitcoin. So no more videos of buying a Big Mac with Bitcoin, like you said, fine. Those are public concessions that are easy to stomach for Bitcoin supporters. And to your point, the reason that a politician like Bukele makes those concessions public is because there's a whole other set of concessions that he made privately that he can't share or that he won't share. The IMF is a criminal organization, almost a terrorist organization. They never actually support the goals that they claim to support with these financial aid packages and loan packages. And it's debt slavery. It's been debt slavery since the beginning of the IMF. They're not changing now. They didn't suddenly find God in the last 2 weeks. I mentioned last week that this also opens the door to other loans that El Salvador either needs or is being told they must take. The thing to me, Len, that's going to be the biggest indicator of whether or not this guy actually has the reins there is if crime ticks back up. If you start seeing crime and dangerous, sort of dangerous spots to live tick back to the upside, then that's going to tell me that this guy is no longer at the helm. That he's playing ball because somebody threatened him with something and made him a deal he couldn't refuse, to quote a great movie. So to me, it's like, it's a sad state of affairs, but this is why if you're going to take a swing at the king, you can't miss. And so, he didn't get the kind of adoption and just powerhouse story that he needed on the international stage to make this a difficult thing for the IMF to do. Instead, he got, decent bond pricing, had a little bit of an economic resurgence, a big time social cohesion boost in terms of getting rid of criminals, but it wasn't enough is the view that I have. And I think it's over there now as far as this whole Bitcoin country thing. I don't see how you could see it any other way. The IMF is winless in terms of getting countries out of financially dire straits, but they are undefeated in terms of keeping people under their thumb. And this is another example of that, in my opinion. I think that's the way it's going to look, a year from now, 2 years from now, going on and on.
I'm wondering how much influence the United States had in this decision.
Tons.
So to me, I find that to be rather interesting, because when we have an outgoing administration and an incoming one which appears to be Bitcoin friendly, or at least closer to being Bitcoin friendly than the outgoing administration. So with that being said, Bukele, it makes me wonder, did he blink or flinch too soon? Would it have been wiser for him to have waited at least a few months for Trump and to get in?
It's hard to wait, right? Like the IMF, all these places will, like, they're not calling you and then leaving a voicemail. They're fucking killing you if you don't do what they ask. Like they're not nice. It's not a negotiation. And that's the thing that people don't get about these organizations. Like whether it's the IMF or other NGOs, this whole term NGO is fucking bullshit. There's no such thing as an NGO. It's NGOs. I can't remember if it was Mike Benz who said this or somebody, but it's like, it's been this way for a long time. I had a professor in university, Charles Burton, who used to say this about NGOs in not so specific terms, but he was right that NGOs are a way for governments to do things that are illegal through basically arms of their power, thanks to funding, right? Oh, we're giving donations to this country, that, or this group, that group, this organization, that organization. NGOs only exist because of the money coming from the G's. Okay. So they are GOs, not NGOs. And these guys don't fuck around. Like, it's not about, could he have waited 4 more months? No. It's like, if you wait 4 more months, you're going to find yourself with some poison in your eggs, or a member of your family's going to die, or like and people who are like, oh, come on, that's, too black pill. You got to be more realistic than that. They're not killing everybody they don't like. Companies a lot smaller, like Boeing, fucking kill people all the time. You don't think the IMF is going around killing people? There's a lot more at stake for the IMF and for the dollar hegemony than there is for the guys at Boeing who want to blow the whistle on DEI hires, fucking up door installations or whatever. These guys will kill you. They will kill your family members. They have done it. They're going to continue to do it. And the idea that you can negotiate with them, there's no such thing. There is no such thing as compromise in the real world, right? Whether it's at work or in politics. It's the guy who has more power deciding what he can tolerate from you in the meantime on his way to a goal that, may steamroll you at some point. That's what this is. And so there's no negotiation. There's no waiting 4 months, none of that stuff. It's this is real life hardball. And Bukele, who is a politician now, but was, I think, a marketing guy before, has found himself outmatched, outwitted, and in a very literal sense, probably outgunned by the IMF. And he better do this and be careful. And I think people, like the Bitcoin crowd, I see people talking, there's tweeting out, oh, he's buying Bitcoin with the IMF money. Zero fucking chance. Zero chance he's buying Bitcoin with that money. They're done with that. You're not going to see these guys as a Bitcoin country 2 years from now. No chance. Zero chance.
So that's the beauty. This remains to be seen. You're saying that's a guarantee. I'm of the opinion, I don't know what's going to be outcome here.
He's not even going to be the president in 2 years. So, like, are you telling me that next he can't run again?
2 years. From what I gather, it's still a 4-year term, if I recall correctly. It's still.
So he have 3 years left?
I think so. Okay,
so 3 years from now, he's not going to be the president. Like, is this guy really on the way out going to try and usurp the IMF and the dollar military complex? Like, I just don't see it. Where's the incentive? I mean, we're Bitcoiners. We like incentives. What's the incentive?
The good question. I don't know. There's a lot here. Like I say, the chess pieces have moved, and the mid and end game still has yet to be played. I don't think we're far into it as I think it is, or as you think it is. I think you think it's much closer to the end.
Put it in the book.
I don't know.
To be revisited. That we'll never revisit it until it's a story again. But we have many things we disagreed on that we were supposed to be revisiting.
We revisit stuff.
Add this to the list.
We revisit stuff all the fucking time, and we do not directly, but indirectly. Even at the beginning of this show, we talked about something which we had, back and forth, and there seems to be an agreement on how things should be done. So we may not do it directly, Joey, but indirectly we come to it. All roads lead to land. Remember to all fucking roads. Let's talk about this metric that is showing that Bitcoin is very popular these days amongst everybody, normies, pre-coiners, Bitcoiners alike. Not actually the price. I'm showing 64,000. Sorry, 94,000 still. 64 would be fucking great. I'd like to buy at that price, but 94. The sales of the Bitcoin Standard, the book, on Amazon, it's going. I'll say it's parabolic. If you look at the chart, look at it. It seems like it's going.
Looks like the XRP chart, straight up.
Anyway, that thing you once called a cockroach of the.
I know. Never dies. I got guys I play football with asking me if they should buy XRP, and they're like, "It's up 100%." I just say it's the same price it was basically like 8 years ago. Like it pumps and dumps every cycle. Just fucking ignore it. Bitcoin's like 5 times the price every 5 years.
I don't understand the case use of it, and there's so much, and not that it's hard for me to comprehend. It's as a Bitcoiner, it's definitely doesn't jive with the future that I want to see play out. No. But with respect to the Bitcoin Standard, the book, if you look at the sales on Amazon, it's very interesting because as of earlier this month, December 13th, for example. This is according to a site called Helium 12, where you can get this kind of information. The 7-day moving average for the Bitcoin Standard was 232. And if you compare this to the rest of 2024, the moving average was around 50 or less. So this is as per visual. I don't have exact numbers, but just looking at that, and that shows like there's a lot of people that are buying this, which is absolutely great. The book is a little bit older compared to others, but it's still one of the very first ones I recommend to people that want to get into this space and learn about it. Most pre-coiners should read it, or even Bitcoiners who haven't read it should read it.
It has the wrong title. It should be the title of the book should be How We Got Here. It's a great history of monetary failures, rises and falls. Yeah, it's a really good book. And the Bitcoin in the title, I think, scares people away, but it's a really solid read.
Yeah. And so anybody out there, I highly recommend read it, listen to it. You can actually listen to the audio if you really want to on a very popular streaming video platform that we are potentially streaming on right now. And so its channel is just the audio, but you could still listen to it if you wanted to on your runs or your whatever the fuck you're doing. Maybe even gift it to a friend or family. It's a good time to think about it. But I just want to say this is a metric that Bitcoin is very popular, which is very bullish.
You love to see it, man. People are paying attention. I'm looking forward to seeing what my friends and family say this year at Christmas, though I won't be seeing that many of them thanks to my little one still being pretty young. But, soon enough, a lot of people will be, I think, asking questions. I mean, like I said to you before, the other thing I think is funny as far as like normie interest is I got so many messages when we dropped 20% from 50K down to 40K to 35K, but I got almost no messages from anybody when we dropped from 108 to 93 because everyone's just like, fuck, like I'd still like to have it at 93. So I think the interest is going to peak exactly. I think the interest is going to continue to go up because people are looking at this and going, maybe they're onto something here. There might be something here for the first time, right? They're thinking that for the first time. And it's not about, oh man, it's crashing. It's going to zero. It's crashing and it's going to 1 million. Can I get some?
Buy in, make some friends with Bitcoiner. I've gifted some Bitcoin for Christmas this year.
Are you giving out any open dimes?
No, I do the Sats card. I prefer the Sats card. I think it's easier to use than an open dime.
Doesn't look as cool though. The open dime is like a good hook. Like the aesthetic of the open dime is undefeated.
Oh shit! I had one around here. I don't know where it is now. Anyways,
this. I rented it in the other room. I'm pretty sure.
I rented a Sats card, which is very sad. I gave away my last one, so I gotta make an order for more. Anyways, there's a company out there, Joey, that's called Cango, Cango, Cango,
Okay.
traded on New York Stock Exchange, CANG. Sorry, CANG is the ticker. Have you heard of this company before, Joy? Because I have never heard about it.
I can't say that I have. I can't say
All
that
right,
I
so
have.
this is a Chinese company. Who would have guessed what that name is Chinese? That operates an online platform facilitating automotive transactions, right? So they connect car buyers, dealers, financial institutions, and other industry participants within the Chinese marketplace. So essentially, it's like a central hub for buying, or including financing service. It's kind of like Bitcoin and exchanges, except they could offer a little bit more, like even financial services. But either way, it's been reported this company, they are gearing up to be one of the largest publicly traded Bitcoin miners. Imagine that, Joey. What the fuck exactly? December 6th, information came out, was released by them. Remember, they're publicly traded. The company flew under the radar because they reportedly mined, as of December 6th, for the month of November, 363 Bitcoin. And according to yesterday's price, that's $34 million, give or take.
Pretty good. Yeah.
They have an aggregate hash rate right now, 32 exahash per second. And they plan to acquire another $144 million of ASICs, and that's going to give them another 18 exahash per second. So they're going to be, if this all works out as planned, around 50 exahash per second. When the news came out of all this, the stock price doubled from around $4 to $8. And the market cap, as of I saw Sunday, so yesterday, the market cap was still around $350 million. So not too big. But either way, the question is why?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they doing this? Why is a Chinese company buying ASICs, mining Bitcoin, considering the connection and all the hoopla we had about China and Bitcoin? Why mine when they could simply buy? Like, there's a lot of questions I don't know. Are they getting electricity for free or nearly free? Do they have a connection because of the proximity they have with Bitmain? Are they getting some? I don't know what
they're doing it because it's the best money in the world. That's why they're doing it. It's the best money in the world.
But if you can simply just buy it, why fucking mine?
Good question.
That's what I want to. You know, if you're going to just buy it, so electricity, the question, where are they fucking getting it? How much? Wired? So there's questions I just don't have the answer to. But a Chinese company, publicly traded, is going to be one of the largest publicly traded Bitcoin miners out there if this plays out, for better or for worse.
I'll pass on that equity purchase. Interesting that you mentioned the power thing, right? It's always a fun topic to discuss where these guys are able to procure power at rates that make mining profitable. I don't know. The other thing to consider is that sometimes, like we've talked about before, boards are unfriendly to certain treasury assets because there's hurdles you have to get over. But mining as an operation change may be a little easier to get through something like that, especially on a publicly traded equity. Now, I don't know if that's the case here, but that's one thing I would think is at least one possible reason they're doing it this way. But to your point, you know, it's hard for me to imagine the board approve something that's cash flow negative if the price of power and the cost of hardware and all this stuff was higher than just buying Bitcoin would have been. So we'll see. I mean, there's always more on this. I remember when the Semler story dropped, and there's been others along the way too, like these companies that are mining / buying / whatever. And the other thing to consider, Len, is even the miners now are buying Bitcoin. So these guys are going the opposite direction, right? They're really taking the road that's now less traveled. So we'll see why. I mean, I'm sure they're not giving money away. There must be some reason or something that's enabling them to take this strategy. So let's hang in and wait for another update.
You hear about the safe harbor bullshit?
No.
So it's a new rule, safe harbor, under the IRS, not IMF, IRS revenue procedure. So this could potentially impact Bitcoiners who, hold or spend their Bitcoin moving forward. The new rule should make it easier or harder, I'm not sure how to figure this out, for Bitcoiners out there to manage their Bitcoin moving forward. And this comes into play January 1st, 2025. So we're just mere days away for this to go live. So people in the US will have to start tracking their corn on a per wallet basis.
Wow.
You don't have to track it now, or you don't have to track it as you are holding one large wallet. it's per wallet basis. So what the fuck does this mean? I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, but this, in my humble opinion, is going to make an added layer of complexity to this all for managing and reporting your Bitcoin transactions for taxation purposes.
I was about to
And
say, okay.
yeah, so it's just looking at this, and granted, I'm not an accountant. I would suggest for people out there that are living in that jurisdiction to talk to an accountant, but some of the tax jargon that's included now are specific unit allocation, global allocation, shit like that. So it's very, and I wonder too, on top of all this, and I just don't know the answer, this is going to impact Lightning nodes, because Lightning nodes out there, there's a lot of rebalancing. Money comes in, money comes out through routing of transactions and shit. I just don't know. So I look at this and I'm thinking, man, oh man, it's going to be a challenge out there for a lot of people that are Bitcoiners. I think the best thing one should do is just try to, keep as few wallets as possible and try not to spend your Bitcoin. Just hodl. I think that's the best course of action until we can wrap our heads around everything. Until then, who the fuck knows what to do?
This is from the crypto-friendly U.S. administration.
This is the current administration.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to ask yourself, do you think Trump and Sachs are going to unwind this? Like the thing that's going to tell you whether or not these guys are friendly to Bitcoin, they can put whatever policies they want around, and they will, by the way, around ICOs and self-custody and all this stuff. But the thing that's going to tell you whether or not they're actually friendly to it is what they treat it as when it comes to tax time. Are you allowed to have de minimis transactions? Are you allowed to do all these things? If you're not, they're not friendly to it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Joey. That's the metric one should use it to determine how friendly they are to Bitcoin or not. If they're making it so onerous for you to actually buy and use it, or even buy and hold, that's a good indication.
It's the only indication. Like everything else is already basically impossible to make illegal, right? Like it's very hard to make self-custody illegal. It's very hard to make node running, home mining. It's very hard, but it's not hard to charge people tax. And that's a thing that they could track fairly easily, especially if they put together a competent group of people to do so. The Biden administration, I don't know if you saw the Christmas picture of the White House. No. I've never seen so many incompetent people in one photo. It is a DEI slop show nightmare. It's like if you asked AI to put together the most diverse group of people without consideration for their actual skills, this is the photo you get. It looks like AI brain rot. And the incoming administration is not going to take this approach. It's Elon, Sachs, Ramaswamy, Home, like you name every guy you see, every man and woman you see is extremely competent in their silo. And there isn't going to be any concern for, the color of your skin or your sexual orientation or any of this stuff with the coming administration. And so, well, the Biden administration, a nap time president, as I've called him, is ready for almost nothing when it comes to Bitcoin, crypto, and instead tried to hit it with a hammer through Liz Warren and her goons. The incoming administration understands, I think, the complexities and will take steps to either make it very easy or make it very hard. But again, like I said before, on the surface, they may say things like your right self-custody is protected. Trump went to Bitcoin 2024. We've talked about the speech in the past. You're going to be able to use your Bitcoin. You're going to be able to hold your Bitcoin. There's never going to be a CBDC. That's easy stuff. It's the tax treatment that matters. Because if you can't spend it and you can't hold it, then what are you going to do with it? You got to leave with it. And even that may become difficult if the regime is unfriendly to it. And you're going to find out very quickly whether these guys are serious or not. I think what you're actually going to see, like I said, is an environment that's very easy and very friendly for VCs and VC activity. So less regulation around Coinbase and less regulation around the ETFs and maybe some other loosening of legislation, loosening of rules from the SEC and stuff like that. And maybe some clear guidance on Bitcoin and other crypto assets. But that's low hanging fruit. It's stuff that could have been done years ago. And actually the Bitcoin Policy Institute, among other think tanks, even for crypto assets, not just for Bitcoin, have put forward policy proposals that make a lot of sense. And they just haven't been adopted because it's easier to enforce through litigation than it is to clarify through legislation. And that's what the SEC has been doing. The new SEC, I don't think, is going to do that. They're going to be very clear, and we're going to find out how much friction they want you to have. My guess, Len, is it's more than people are thinking they're going to have. And also, like, The other thing that's going to be a telling sign is what they do with this like strategic reserve. Are they going to do a strategic reserve? If they don't do one, then like there's little things like that.
That's not a little thing. That is you either it is a binary thing. You talk about it, and then all of a sudden you don't do it.
Exactly. It's pretty major, right? That and the free Ross Ulbricht. Like if you don't free Ulbricht on day one, like you're kind of showing your hand, right? So let's see what they do.
So, and I don't want it to pump Canada's bags here, but I don't see much change yet for buying or using Bitcoin in Canada.
You have to report buys here starting next year.
Okay, that is fine, right? Now, in terms of what's going on over there, that's easier to deal with than it is over there. What I'm trying to get at,
tracking per wallet, like
is a pain in the ass.
It sounds like you're just tracking cells per wallet. Are you not
tracking per wallet? Everything.
So
by comparison, I could easily have a spreadsheet of what I purchased. I just want to say Canada tends to, comparatively to the United States, has been easier to deal with respect to Bitcoin. Look at the laws, look at the regulations. ETFs were approved here. Francis has even talked about how much better comparatively it is here.
Yeah, it's friendlier here.
Yeah. So like, a lot of people say this or that, but Canada has some advantages to do with Bitcoiners. So take advantage while it's still there. Could be taken away. And Craig, I just want to talk about him. He's been proven wrong once again following a contempt hearing in the UK. Sorry,
wrong. Okay, yeah.
He was proven wrong. This guy. I don't know who the heck he is, but he no-showed the event like a disgruntled wrestler. So he did this by Zoom like it's 2020, and that's why he's somewhere in Asia. He said specifically where, parts unknown, and he was sentenced to 12 months in prison, but it was suspended for 2 years. So it looks like slap on the wrist, maybe, but I don't think things are going well over there. This is maybe coming to a conclusion with all this, which is wonderful considering how litigious he has been over the years and putting people through a lot of hell. So good to see this go. Yeah.
Milk carton, Calvin Ayre. Where's he been since this whole thing unraveled? No idea. But another guy who just completely has disappeared. So make of that what you will.
So for our American listeners and viewers out there, Swan, they will be releasing a new awards card. It's called the Swan card. And this is a Bitcoin rewards card. No details as of yet, but I guess it would be something similar to what we have here in Canada, the Shake Pay card, if I were to hazard a guess how it would look like. And probably this is going to be another opportunity for people to stack Bitcoin. Having options is good. I like this. It's going to be released, they're planning Q2 2025, so we're about 6 months-ish or less away from this. There is a website you could go to if you're a Swan user and want to get access to this right away as soon as it's ready. It's called swanbitcoin.com/card. And from there, you could sign up to get priority access. And I assume it's going to be a rolled out approach, just the way SakePay did as well, because that way, if there are any bugs in the system, that way they could just deal with it and a small number of users are impacted. And also they could test systems and so forth. So with respect to the details, I don't know. But again, like I said, options are good. Fold is available in the United States, and a lot of people talk fondly of this. So maybe if there's competition, there could be more opportunities for people to stack for spending. This is
competition
great.
Is good, man. I don't much care for Swan these days, but anything that increases the amount of competitiveness in the industry, especially when it comes to stuff like onboarding, I'm for it big time. How's Fold's IPO?
Did it go sideways? It was supposed to come out and then it just didn't.
I haven't been tracking it, but we haven't really we never talked about Fold on the show. I think we might have talked about them when they announced the IPO, but I haven't heard anything since then.
Are you a Fold spinner? I still spin my Fold wheel.
I uninstalled the app when they changed because they wanted me to KYC on the update, and so I was like, well, I'm not doing that. What do you get, like 5 sats a day or something, like whatever?
Up to 100, but you don't have to give proper information. You can just give whatever you want.
I didn't.
VPN everything, and
okay, let's keep rolling. I might have to leave you for a couple minutes because I really have to fire off a turd, which is rare during the show. I think it's only happened one other time.
Before you go, I just want you to maybe you want to just add something here because a turd of a story. Porter and
Oh,
the
fuck.
buddies over there. Do you want to talk about it? Because there seems to be a lot of drama
I don't know.
over there.
I don't know enough. I like David Bailey. I like Dennis Porter. I don't know enough about the story. There's claims of AI, claims of not AI, whatever. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. But as far as I'm concerned, I would just say, let sleeping dogs lie. It doesn't matter. These guys are pushing toward the same thing at the end of the day. As long as they're not really rubbing people the wrong way, then there's more competition. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all there is to it. I can't say for sure that someone is using AI or not using AI. So
I have no fucking clue. I don't give a shit. But let's end this because it sounds like something is turtling over there.
Is there a way to pause the stream? Like, can we go on a break? Like, what do we do? Just go on
a loop video. Upload a video.
I don't have a loop video.
No,
okay, you do it. I gotta go.
Be quick. Well, let's end this fucking Bitcoin segment. Go to the
God bless you. Stay here. I'll be back in 10 minutes or less, promise. And until next time, take care of yourself.
Take care. Don't be a cock. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Len the Legend. I'll be doing this one solo until Joey's back. I'll be talking about the rest of the news. And number one, our favorite mayor, Eric Adams. And Joey has been very fond of him over the past few years. Well, it looks like he might be getting a pardon in a not too distant future if things go according to plan. This Boomer saying professional pod. Absolutely. As you can see, we're just doing this shit on the fly, flying by the seat of our pants. And Joey's not doing that for obvious reasons. Well, Mayor Adams, he is dealing with federal corruption charges. And according to CBS, he pleaded not guilty to 5 separate charges, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud, solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national, and bribery. And he's accused of accepting travel benefits and illegal campaign contributions. And their trial that is going to take place is scheduled for April 21st, 2025. And all this is causing some problems with Mayor Adams for his re-election bid, because from what I gather, he's not going to be able to get access to funding moving forward, or at least all the funding that's available to all the candidates. And this is going to severely cripple his ability to raise and use funds for his campaign. Trump has been pretty vocal with the DOJ. He's been critical with the DOJ. And he said, looks like, hinting that he may potentially pardon the mayor because the DOJ, he feels, has been unfairly treating Mayor Adams. And SBF, according to Boomdust, might be the next person that gets pardoned. I don't know why SBF would be pardoned. I thought he was more cozy towards the Democrats and not the Republicans. Did he make a lot of donations to the Republicans as well? Actually, sorry, he did. He made them to both parties. Whatever. SBF, he's going to probably rot for the next little while in prison, as according to the law, he should. But let's see if he gets pardoned, or at least has his sentence commuted as well, the same as Ross. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen with Eric Adams. I know he was a Bitcoin guy, and he kind of still does talk about Bitcoin periodically. Let's be honest, he's really not that cozy with Bitcoin. He hasn't made New York a Bitcoin city. He's dealing with a lot of migrants, and he's trying to export them and try to deal with that issue, so to speak. But whatever, it's too bad for him on an individual level. But I know Joey has been pretty critical of him, so he might be happy to hear that he might be on his way out as the mayor of New York. The Federal Reserve has made an announcement this past week. They dropped the interest rates by another 25 basis points. And when that happened, a lot of markets weren't pleased, including Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin dropped pretty rapidly, a few $1,000s, if I recall correctly, a couple of thousand, maybe whatever it was. It was enough that it was noticeable in the chart. And not just that, also the Canadian dollar too took a hit. A few different currencies, the Australian dollar took a hit as well. It looks like markets were anticipating a higher rate cut than 25 basis points than the one we got. And this, I suspect, is just a prelude to what's going to come for 2025. Big cuts are going to be coming because we have the Trump administration that's going to be sworn in, and he's going to want to drive this thing as close to zero, or if not zero or below, to try to overheat the economy. So that's going to be his MO. So the fact that the Federal Reserve has been reducing the rates 25 basis points, it's kind of like kicking the can down the road, so to speak. But a lot of people are looking at the Canadian dollar and saying, look how it's been doing compared to the US. It's doing pretty bad. It was hit the 69 cents-ish area. And this is all in an environment where the Canadian central bank has been reducing rates 50 basis points at a time. and the Federal Reserve is 25. So what happens when the Fed starts doing it at their 50s and the Canadian Bank of Canada kind of stops or does 25 basis points? Well, it's easy to see that the Canadian dollar is going to rebound comparatively to the USD, and it's going to be above 70 cents as long as everything plays out with the tariffs. Let's see if that blows over. That's a big thing. But either way, the Fed came out and they were talking about their ability to own Bitcoin. They said they're not allowed to own Bitcoin. It's pretty funny that they acknowledge the fact that they cannot do it. So Jerome Powell was saying the Federal Reserve Act says what we can own, and we're not looking for a law change. That's the kind of thing for Congress to consider, but we're not looking for a law change at the Fed. I took a look at what they're able to own, and some of the things they could. This is according to Google. When I do a Google search, there was the AI at the very top. So I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but this is what my Google search came up with. It says the things that they're able to own are securities. They could purchase and own treasuries, mortgage-backed securities, and other securities through open market operations. Also, it mentions they could deal in gold, coin, and bullion. So they can make loans on gold and exchange Federal Reserve notes for gold. So they can hold gold, but not Bitcoin. It seems pretty funny because Bitcoin is comparative to gold on a digital sense. So why couldn't they own Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheet the same way they could own gold? Either way, it looks like there's going to have to be some modernizations to the Bitcoin to have what they could do moving forward with Bitcoin and owning it. And Boom does saying they could own a Bitcoin ETF. Yeah, you're probably right. Will they do it though? I don't know. Look at that's a fast. Look, you seem to be very calm.
I drank a lot of water today, and it's more than I usually drink. I think that's contributed to the speed at which the plates are clearing here. Yeah.
So I just want to tie a bow on this one here is that it seems like they're setting things up for Trump, for better or for worse, to have as high rates as possible. So let's see how things play out. I was talking about the Federal Reserve cutting.
Oh, the new hawkish Fed. Yeah. What a surprise, eh? They literally pulled bullshit. They pull the pin on the grenade. Suddenly everything is looking bad. We got to take care of inflation. You got to make sure everything is good. Oh, by the way, we're not going to cut rates anymore. The forecast, like when I see stuff like this, I look at the forecast and I'm like, okay, these guys had the SEP, the dot plot, saying what? 6 cuts a few meetings ago, 2025, 5 cuts. I forget what it was.
Whatever it was supposed to be a rapid one.
Yeah. And now it's
50-50.
Yeah. And now it's 2. Now it's 2. And so you can say what you want about the Fed not being political, but I think if anyone watched that press conference, I think it was last month, where one of the reporters asked Powell if he thought Trump could fire him. And he's like, no. And another reporter asked if he'd consider just leaving on his own, given that he's served out, a number of years. He's like, no. And now the next meeting, they're done cutting. Now the Trump won. You make of this what you will, but
they're reacting. Always reacting. They're not moving things.
But they're reacting to bunk data. Like the fulcrum is the CPI data, and the CPI data is bunk. It's not it's nonsense. And so what are they? When Powell gets on the mic every month and is like, we're data driven. No, you're not. No, you're not.
The one thing they're going to be doing though is they will continually cut. There's no way they're going to stop cutting, and there's no way they're going to stop continue doing 25. It's going to be a bunch of 50s, especially once Trump comes in.
You think
75s? Oh yes, he's going to want to drive this thing as close to zero as possible.
He is not the guy who's going to do it though. Like Powell sounds like he is opposed to that. Not only opposed to that policy stance, but opposed to the idea that Trump should have any influence.
Well, we all know exactly how things play out, and the Federal Reserve, we could debate how much of an independent body it really is. There's going to be a lot of pressure from the White House.
Yeah, there's potential ups and downs there. I don't disagree with you. I just think that there is going to be some friction between those two men, and Powell is emboldened by. He's probably emboldened by his, the length of his tenure now, but I think he's also emboldened by him, his view. I think this is his view anyway, that he's done such a bang up job and he wants to see it through. And he doesn't, he's going to be even more revered, not only for getting inflation under control, not only for avoiding the recession, but also for standing up to maybe the world's most pushy politician. Like, is it possible that he views it this way? I don't know.
He's the only person that could stop this. Yeah, right. Good fucking luck. We can talk about somebody else that's good fucking luck, and it's probably going to be Jagmeet Singh. and an epiphany came to him that he just realized, you know what, it's I have to state this. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Unless things
Unless they delay until the end of 25. But yeah, it's
right.
the last minute. Yeah.
I thought for sure they would not do this because of the financial situation that the NDP party is in. And they are, the last I heard, they're in dire straits. They don't have the ability to fund a general campaign. But the people have spoken, and Mr. Singh decided, you know what? I'm going to listen to them and take down the government the first opportunity. The next opportunity is going to be January 27th.
Hey, wait a minute. You forgot the asterisk. First opportunity, asterisk. And then the asterisk at the bottom of the page is first opportunity once I've secured my pension. Don't forget about that part. Don't forget about the dozens of MPs that will get their pension thanks to this guy deciding to wait until government was done for the year.
No. They'd have to wait till the end of end of 2020.
There's a list of MPs,
and it's October because he came in a by-election, and so his tenure, his 6 years, started almost 6 years ago. You have to look at the people that were elected previously in the previous election, and it's not going to be after February. I think it has to go to October all the way. In fact, they needed to have it extended another 10 days or so. Remember, they were talking about extending this.
I remember that.
And some people looked at it and said, if that was extended, then it would allow a bunch of other MPs to get their pension because they were just outside that.
I remember that. But I think there's still a number of people. He is one of them. He is one of them. That this extra month gets him to the date that he gets his pension.
Whoever was in a by-election around that time too is going to get, but he's the only one that I can think of that's prominent, right? So either way, that was a narrative, is that he was waiting for this to get his pension. Let's look at this from a few different avenues. Number one, if he indeed waits until January 27th to bring down the government, that's when that's going to be the first time they're going to have an opportunity to bring down the government. When is going to be the first opportunity for opposition to propose non-confidence vote? Does the Liberals, I don't know the procedure here, but don't they have to give them opposition day in order to do
or the Governor General has something to do with it?
No, this is the Liberal Party. They have to allocate so many opposition days. I could be wrong on this, but there's so many opposition days they have to, and they could reschedule the calendar how they wish, and they could push this to the end or closer to the end. That way that they could delay any non-confidence vote for some time. Proroguing Parliament is probably going to happen, looks like.
Yeah.
And that's going to throw a wrench in everything. And then it seems like there's I don't want to say a mutiny, but a lot of unhappy MPs that are Liberals with Justin Trudeau. Today, I forget his first name, but Housefather, I think is his last name. He's an Ontario MP. He said that there was an Ontario caucus meeting. 50 Ontario Liberal MPs want Trudeau to resign. That's a large contingent of the Liberal. So things are not looking good for Trudeau. He's going to probably prorogue and step down, and somebody else is going to obviously come in for him. But Jagmeet Singh going for his pension, I don't know. We'll see. If indeed, even if the government falls like end of January, does he still get his pension given the fact that an election takes 30 days?
Yeah.
So he's guaranteed to get his pension the way things are going. Polyev wrote a letter to the Governor General asking for Parliament to convene earlier.
Yeah, dissolution, right? Yeah.
But I think he mailed it by Canada Post, so may not get there until like March or April. So just looking at the tea leaves here, and then there's this talk of proroguing until the end of October 2025.
That sounds insane. There's no way.
Never happening.
Yeah.
Never. I don't
buy that.
I'll bet my Bitcoin stock on that shit. I won't say it for sure. That is, there's no way that's
the thing that's most annoying to me is these squirrely, sackless MPs on the Liberal side who wouldn't say anything about the disaster their party has become until they were sure that they weren't going to get one of these shuffled cabinet seats last week. And then as soon as the cabinet shuffle came out, all the people who didn't get picked, didn't get tapped on the head, suddenly had a big problem with the way the party was being led and the country was being governed, and said that Mr. Trudeau should step down. That doesn't take much in terms of testicular fortitude, especially this bit about, maybe Papa Justin will pick me to run a cabinet position. You're just so spineless. And I hate to say that about elected officials because people really chose them as the best option to lead and act in their best interest. They've done anything but, especially in the last month or two. And it's been so sad to watch. And I'll add one more thing here. These are my words, not Len's. The country is being embarrassed on an international stage at this point by this whole saga. Freeland resigning. Freeland, in Canada, you kind of sometimes miss the role that Freeland has. Freeland's the finance minister, but she's really the second in command. Like if the vice president resigned suddenly because they were at odds with, the prime minister or the president, I should say, like that would be an international story. It'd be a huge scandal. And it is here too. We don't take it seriously enough. It's become entertainment too much for us. And, as much as I think politics broadly is a waste of time and attracts low quality people, at the end of the day, these low quality people are sending billions of your dollars to other places, spending billions of your dollars on nonsense causes, billions of your dollars on fake green data through the slush fund. It's just like just another day in paradise at this point with the government. And whether I think Polyev can make it better, I personally don't. It's time for a change. Like reasonable people look at this and are like, it's not tolerable behavior. It's not tolerable governance. It has nothing to do with the party stripe. It has everything to do with the behavior.
Yeah, change is going to happen if you believe the polls, and I tend to believe the polls, and also not just that, word on the street, you talk to people, you get the vibe of how people are thinking they're going to be voting, and I don't see many people that
I want to say something here too. Like the other thing, Trudeau said something the other day that really upset me, and it's funny. Mark is in our Signal chat. He just reminded me about it. This idea that Canadians are less Canadian than immigrants to Canada because Canadians who were born here were just Canadian by default, and people who came here chose to come here and start a new life. That should upset you. That should really give you that should ignite a fire in your belly in a way that not many other comments can. It's such a ridiculous thing to say. And it's, something that only gets said when you've really lost the plot, I think. And that's where that party is now. And it's where a lot of left-leaning parties are around the world. He's not the only left-leaning leader that's, about to get steamrolled or was steamrolled recently, or is losing in the polls, or is in jeopardy of, not finding another job after, which I think is another contributing factor here. There is no book deal. There is no, international spotlight waiting for him the same way that it might have been waiting for Freeland. Yeah, I don't think so.
I think there's a lot waiting for him.
What are you thinking? What level of work do you think is waiting for him? What level of role? What level of celebrity, maybe more specifically, is waiting for him?
Okay, celebrity is different. I'm just thinking of work.
Well, the celebrity in terms of look at the things other people have done. Like if you look at Al Gore, Bill Clinton, these guys who were, popular statesmen, they ended up doing a lot more stuff. You could argue Bill Clinton is more popular now than he was when he was the president, which is hard to do. There's no way that Trudeau is ever going to achieve that. Ever. There's no chance.
I'm of the camp that I'm just going to play out what I think is going to happen, and I could be wrong. So prorogue, he leaves, new leader comes in, and he's Trudeau's no longer prime minister, and he's going to leave politics altogether. If he does that, he's young enough, he's 52, that he could potentially come back in a decade, even 15 years, and enough water has
party again.
Why not? I'm not saying this is because time potentially. You look at Bill Clinton, you're like, look, he's now more popular now than he was in the 90s. Time tends to heal a lot of wounds. Jack Layton, same thing. I know he passed away, but Bob Rae was almost geared to be the leader of the Liberal Party. And, 20 years earlier, 15 years earlier, things were very different. He was just run out of Ontario.
I cannot believe this thesis.
So, it's definitely possible. He is charismatic enough. He's charismatic, period. He is able to galvanize certain things. There's a tradition here, almost like, and I don't want to say destined to be, but like he'll use this in a way like his father, they're separated in terms of like continuing their term. Trudeau, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, I think had a break. He sat in opposition briefly before getting to be prime minister again. So this could be the same thing with Justin. He could leave, come back, and become prime minister again in 10, 15 years. He's young enough. He has a lot of connections, and who knows how things will change in the future.
He's nuclear.
Remember what we have now, carbon tax and stuff like that. 15 years ago, Stefan Dion was laughed at, was voted almost.
We talked about this,
and now we have it. It's a real thing. So the idea is that Trudeau has been proposing. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to give any merit to anything. I'm just trying to say times.
Like you're getting cooked in the comments too. Like I honestly think there's no way this happens. Like there's like less than 0% chance.
Maybe I just think that there's enough time has passed, or could pass.
How starved for leadership would the party have to be to go back to Trudeau?
What do they have right now?
I mean, almost anything is better than what they're going through right now.
Correct. And you're going to have a couple of terms in opposition, maybe more, who knows? And then what happens then?
Has there ever been a repeat PM?
Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
He repeated. He left the party, came back, and became PM.
He retired and then won the next election. Now, granted, he was still sitting as the prime minister, but there is some history here that could be repeated.
I don't know about this.
And I look at this, it's like, like I say, and I said this before, on the campaign trail, Justin Trudeau, that's his bread and butter. He seems to be an animal when it comes to that.
But like he was an animal on the campaign trail when these causes were in vogue. And now like saying people kind will get you nuked, asking for carbon taxes and saying that climate change is more important than putting food on the table will get you nuked. Like these are his causes. They're not just causes that he adopted from the party. He championed them. Sure. So you're telling me he's going to get away from these causes, or the country's going to go back to these causes in 10 years? Like, it just seems so unlikely in either case.
I don't know how his ideas will change, morph, and how people's ideas in general will change or morph. But I have a feeling that he's not done in politics. Just given his age, his pedigree, and everything that I can see that's going to play out, there's a chance. It's not like you're going to have the Liberals that are going to continue in power for another decade and then go to opposition, because things go back and forth in Canada. We're going to have the other way, where it's going to be the next 10 years. Oh, my screensaver came on. It's going to be the next almost 10 years conservatives. And then after that, historically, it's going to be Liberals again. So who's going to be the leader at that time? I don't know.
Not him.
I don't know. He's young enough, and I just never say never. That's all I can say.
The more likely.
I'm not saying this is a slam dunk. I'm just saying don't be surprised.
There's a dozen more likely outcomes, including like Fraser going out east and being a premier and then coming back to federal politics.
He's a great candidate and I thought that he would have been an excellent person to take this on, because I think that he's a good orator.
He is, for sure. He's a good speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. He thinks on his feet. Like, there's a lot to him, but you know what? I got to give him credit. I mean, not only is he the writing on the wall, he said he wants to go spend more time with his family, and I gotta give that's noble.
His family told him, "GTFO, bud. We gotta go.
He's, he just probably figured it's time.
Let's put a pin in this, because it's not, we're not going to get anywhere here. But
no, it's great discussion, though.
It is, exactly.
And I don't want to totally dismiss the fact that he's done from politics. Just don't be surprised if he comes back.
Sure.
It's definitely possible. Anything is.
The chat's with me.
That is fine. Like I say, all roads lead to land, but I'm not saying this is a slam dunk. I'm just saying, just be ready. This is a potential outcome, a potential future.
Okay.
And another potential future is Quebec. They're going to be banning the sales of internal combustion engine cars starting 2035.
I love it.
This doesn't apply for shit like mopeds, motorcycles, and emergency vehicles. Those are exempt. So for whatever reason, emergency vehicles, they're not going to be subjected to the same garbage.
Because they actually have to work. Yeah, that's why.
So it's going to be for light-duty vehicles, which the province describes as cars, light trucks, pickup trucks, and most SUVs. Imagine pickup trucks and light trucks.
Hilarious.
That's going to be... Anyways, this is all going to be starting... They're thinking very long-term here. December 31st, 2035 is when this comes into effect. And at that particular moment, it's going to be illegal to sell or lease a new gas-powered vehicle. And so I took a look to see how much electricity is generated by the province of Quebec. And for the most part, they export electricity. So they are a net producer. But there are times, peak times, where they have to import from their neighbors. So it happens. And that's with the current environment, which how many cars are being plugged in? Probably not as many as was going to happen in the next, say,
minuscule amount. Yeah.
Took a look in 2023, Quebec registered over 400,000 new vehicles for the year. And if we continue at the same pace, 400,000 per year, let's imagine inflation doesn't impact new cars, and that doesn't go parabolic in number of sales. So 400,000 cars, and we could do an estimate of 20 kilowatt hours for the average commute.
Yeah.
Do the math, and that's 0.3 gigawatt hours per hour, 24 hours a day. That's going to be added to the grid every year as a result. And right now they're exporting power, but still at times importing it. It's unless they continually build out energy production, it's going to be tough times ahead. Energy costs, it's very cheap in Quebec right now.
Len, it's just cold in Quebec. Like, you can't have battery powered cars in Quebec 7 months of the year, especially as you get up like north of Quebec City, north of Montreal. Like, what is the plan? Some of those places are covered in snow. When I was taking my French lessons, the instructor was in where was she? She was in a little place like Trois-Rivières, maybe. And like, I would be talking to her at 2 PM in like, February or January, and it would be dark behind her. The window was black. Her kid would come home from school and like, it's dark outside, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You don't understand how cold and how difficult that environment is. And also don't forget that these people they have a reliance on those fuels, not because those fuels are necessarily, cheap. It's expensive to buy gas in some of those places, I'm sure, but they just work. And so when you talk about emergency vehicles, we're not going to go that direction. Well, why? Because we need them to work. What are you going to do about like Amazon drivers, post drivers? Are those guys going to be restricted to EVs? Like, Amazon's not going to play that game. They're just going to say, okay,
there are some Amazon trucks. There's some delivery. Was it FedEx? Or I saw they're electric, fully electric.
Probably
some. Have you seen them?
Len,
and not the whole fleet. I agree.
It's one thing for like trucks who are cruising through your area and my area, right? But it's another thing entirely to say, like, we have a truck going out to the middle of nowhere. That's there's
a simple solution to that. Is the cargo area, you just stuff it full with batteries, and just you have a minuscule amount of area that is able to transport whatever the fuck you're transporting, and you're able to drive hours on end, no problems. Now, in terms of, do we have enough electricity to power it all? Gretzky, I don't think ripped it. I took a look. He's still around.
There's no. Is someone in the chat saying Gretzky died? No, Gretzky didn't die.
No, it's Ricky Henderson. That's the sad one.
Different guy.
Another great player, different sport altogether. By the way, those stories, you got to go through those Ricky. Have you read some of those Ricky stories?
I saw some great interviews he's done over the years. Yeah, pretty funny. That guy was born for the social media era and just didn't get to enjoy it.
I don't think he was really, because he was such a personable guy. He would talk to fans often and just do like one-on-one, and he was able to talk to them on a personal level. I don't know if social media would have been his jam, but he certainly deserved to be put in the spotlight more. He was funny. You ever hear a story about him getting paid $1 million?
No.
So early in his career, he got paid $1 million. I don't know if it was a signing bonus or if it was his first million he accumulated, whatever the fuck it was. He had a check of $1 million. And so what did he do? Like anybody else that gets something like this, he put it on a wall. But what happened is, through the year, like through the duration of the year, it was noticed through the counting that Oakland A's were like off by $1 million. Like, what the fuck happened? Apparently, the guy never cashed it. He just fucking put that check on the wall. I love it.
I love it. That's great.
As Ricky being, and he always referred to himself in the third person too.
I love it.
And yeah,
a true character, man. True character.
Yeah. This one time they were talking to him to John 3:16. You know John 3:16, right?
The Bible passage.
And he's like, yeah. He says, I don't want to. Ricky doesn't want to hear about John 3:16. Ricky's hitting 3:30. He's so right.
That's great.
He was playing for the Mets. The hitting coach got fired, and they asked him about it. He's like, "Who is that guy?" He had no idea what fucking hitting coach was.
That's great.
Canada, they are going ahead with the net zero energy grid, electricity grid. It's going to be 2035 was initial plan. It's going to 2050.
I love none of this stuff.
Clean electricity regulation.
An admission of defeat.
They changed it, and it's a 15-year change. Right now, 85% of electricity comes from sources like hydropower, wind, and solar in Canada. So fossil fuels has a little bit more runway. I have nothing else to say about this, but yeah, 15 more years we have of whatever we have right now.
Are you surprised that they're starting to capitulate a little bit on some of these goals?
I think it's because they don't have the ability to meet them. They just realize that they're lofty goals, and just
literally everybody in the world told them that they couldn't meet them, and they still put out these ridiculous numbers and goals. And now this is a capitulation, in my opinion. I like it. I'm here for it. I'm ready. I'm enjoying the show, but it's good that they're finally realizing that these things they're harebrained and unachievable, and they're not long for this world. None of these goals are these climate goals. They're not. Oil use is ticking up all over the world. Coal use is ticking up all over the world. You know, you say whatever you want about batteries and EVs and all this other shit, but it's just not. We're not there yet. Period. End of story. We might get there at some point, but we're not there yet.
There's an environmental cost for extracting like the cobalt and
lithium. Yeah, it's called poor. It's called poor colored kids on the other side of the world, fucking digging in trenches with their bare hands, pulling out chemicals, destroying the planet in a multitude of ways in the process. It's not even close to carbon neutral. The extraction process. It's not even close to carbon neutral, the shipping process. And it's not even close to carbon neutral, the manufacturing process. It's all fucking made up. All these numbers about green energy and, we got to be carbon neutral. They're fucking bogus. Bogus is actually the most generous way to interpret them. They're intentionally misleading and fraudulent is the more accurate way to say it, I think. Especially when you look at the way that some of these companies report their numbers. They have no way to know exactly how much they're emitting, and they say as much, and then they give the numbers anyways. We're just making it up. I mean, what else is new when it comes to that kind of data? It's all made up. Why should this be any different? This CPI, emissions, just make it up. Who cares? No one's looking. Who gives a shit?
Well, there's one thing that's not made up is in Toronto. There's 1,200 folks. Sorry, 12,000 folks. Fuck, I was off by a factor of 10. There's 12,000 people that are using shelters in the city of Toronto. That's a lot of people. And obviously, this number is just too large for people to stomach. So Toronto is going through the efforts of providing more housing or even rent supplemental.
Yeah.
Supplements. So according to Olivia Chow,
love this,
$1,000 for rent supplement. And she was even talking about potentially even providing a loan to refugees. And there would be an economic benefit from that. So the thought is right now for the shelters, it's costing taxpayers around $70,000 per bed per shelter, and she's thinking if we could translate this to $1,000 for rent supplement, it's only $12,000 a year, far less than the $70,000, and there's more opportunity for them to spend it elsewhere, just in case their food budget could be reallocated, their transportation budget. So interesting, and there's more to this, but I'll leave it at that for now. Let's see if you want to just tack on to that story. But
is she going to give $1,000 to all the immigrants chanting for death to Jews in the streets? Do they get $1,000?
I can't believe all this shooting.
What about the ones who are like killing people and robbing jewelry stores? Do they get $1,000 too? What about the ones who literally come here and then like as soon as they get out of the airport fall backwards into car theft rings? Are they going to get $1,000? What about the ones who lie about their student status and now are on the ropes because finally we've realized that LMIAs are a scam? It should be called LMIAOs. Are they getting $1,000? Like Chow is just brain dead. And everyone who likes her, I think, is brain dead too. And there was a time when I would not be that pointed with my words, but like you're watching the country get destroyed by morons like this. It's being destroyed by this kind of thinking. $1,000. Where did that number come from? We're just giving $1,000 away to every immigrant who comes here who needs a rent supplement. If you come here, you should be able to find a way to live. It's not up to me to pay for you to live, because the intent of immigration is to bring people that will contribute to society. You're not contributing if I'm paying for you to live. And yeah, oh, it's so harsh. You shouldn't say that. People need help. Fuck that. There's a limit to everything, right? We know this intuitively, instinctively. We see it. It's not just anecdotal, it's reality. And you can't give away money to every person who wants to come here. You have to bring people here who can support themselves. Otherwise, you will run into problems like this, where you get politicians who just say whatever the fuck they want with no understanding of how it's going to work, no understanding of how it destroys the future of the country, no understanding of any of this stuff. Have fun, Toronto. Like, Toronto's a communist wasteland now. I mentioned this last week. I always do the day in Toronto thought exercise. You're heading in a direction that is just almost unbelievably detrimental to your mental health, now and in the future, to family formation, to business formation, to you name it. By the way, the Toronto transit system in disrepair. Toronto police defunded. Emergency vehicles can't get through. The city only cares about the Ford government shutting down bike lanes and giving $1,000 to immigrants.
There's more.
Insane. It's absolutely insane.
Because there is a story and a proposition of you will own nothing and be happy from this past week. And this is according to a CBC article that Toronto, they broke ground on affordable housing project that is now going to have the city as a builder. And this is an affordable housing project under a model that the city is the developer. It's being done in Parkdale. 42, keep in mind the number, 42 rent gear to income and supportive units for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. This is set to open in 2026. I think that's ambitious, given even condos on a private market, there's always delays and delays and delays. So this may open 2027, 2028. Either way, remember, 42 rent-to-geared into units, $21.6 million in federal funding has been allocated for this project. And this is going to include a kitchen and bathroom, plus shared laundry, a commercial kitchen, and a common area for programming.
Neato.
And I don't think they're talking about programming with Rust or C.
Ain't going to be any C++. Yeah, I'll tell you that.
No. So tenants will pay no more than 30% of their income or the shelter allowance of their social assistance on rent. And remember, I've mentioned 12,000 people are using shelters in Toronto. Well, there's 90,000 people on the wait list for the rent gear to income housing.
Cool.
So that's essentially like a
anyone building 90,000 homes, Len? Any news on 90,000 homes being built, all geared to income, tiny trailers?
42.
Shoeboxes in the park?
This is 42, and it took $21 million to get to this. You have
unbelievable. Like, talk $21 million for 42 units.
So that's very important to digest those numbers. And then when you figure in 90,000 people are on the wait list, that's there's not enough money in the pit to make everybody whole here. It's just a sad reality. I think it gets worse. Let's be honest. The price of buying shit today, be it like apples or going on a TTC or what the fuck it is, I can say next year at this time it's going to be higher, slightly higher,
for sure,
still higher.
Totally.
And the income people are taking in probably is not going to be in accordance to how much higher prices are. So they're going to be even further behind the 8 ball. This shit just gets worse and worse. And that number 90,000 is going to be higher because more people are going to be captured in the inflation that.
And we're bringing more people in. Like, people just keep coming and they need support. It is impossible for me to understand the mind of the Toronto enjoyer at this point. Center of the universe, greatest city in the world. It's none of those things. It's a commie shithole. Your mayor's retarded. say dumb shit on the radio steady. She honestly never stopped saying dumb shit. The last few months, like every week we talk about something she said or something she wore, dancing in the street. Literal, like you have a religious conflict on your main city streets and you're dancing around in your underwear at Carabana. You have people who cannot afford to eat, who have been living in Toronto for decades. Shelter use at all-time highs, drug use at all-time highs, police funding at a low, and you're talking about giving $1,000 to immigrants. You have people who can't afford homes. You say that you're, a judicious spender of the government coffers, the municipal coffers, and you're spending, what was the number? 42 million on, or 21 million on 42 units?
42 units, 21
so $500K for a unit. And Len, those units, like, they're going to be as big as this room, probably, right? Something like that. And like, none of this makes it, like, to any competent person, this doesn't make sense. So let's tie it back to Bitcoin. Do you want to be in a currency that is used, distributed, and understood in this way by the people who are at the spigot? The answer, it can't be yes. It can't be. You cannot be exposed to this currency. CAD is like especially ugly. I don't know what the election and regime change here will bring for the CAD USD exchange rate, but fuck me, man. You got your biggest city making decisions like this. And by the way, there's no direct competition for Chow at the moment. I can't name any other candidates that are, trying to usurp her or pushing for debates or elections or any of these things. So, I mean, not that you can do that at the municipal level, but you get what I'm saying.
We had that guy, Chris Goon, and he said he was going to make Toronto a Bitcoin city.
Yeah, well, Chris Sky or whatever, Chris Focaccia.
Whatever. But
that guy's a clown.
Didn't he show up like just out of the fucking blue one time?
He came to the conference the first year, and his people, these two short people, like, became friendly with me at the conference, and then like snuck up on me at the after party and like, oh, we want Chris to come on your podcast, and they made me take a picture with him. I was like pretty drunk and didn't even realize what was happening, but like that guy's a loser anyway. What's he doing now? Is he in jail? It's a non-zero chance. I haven't heard from the guy in a year, or heard about the guy in a year, but
I don't know. But you know what? It's he'll probably run again, right? I think he has aspirations to become the mayor of Toronto.
Don't we all?
Trounced in this last election.
Why wasn't one of us run? We should just run. Why don't we run?
I'm not fucking running.
Joint ticket? Why not? How hard can it be?
I have no desire.
We'll use CBP to do all the campaigning. I'm not going door to door.
I don't want to touch
the debate. Has to be on StreamYard. I'm not doing it on TV. Mark can moderate it. Actually, Mark will be the impartial moderator.
And I think there's one last stat I'm going to bring up. We're getting kind of long here.
Sure.
Assisted suicide in Canada. We have that.
I got clown world, man. It just never stops. It never stops.
So it's being reported that 1 in 20 Canadians that died in 2023 were from assisted suicide. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I just thought, man, that's a very high number.
Well, it is a high number. I'll tell you what is true in terms of the Canadian healthcare corner here. This story out of, I think, Saskatchewan, maybe, or somewhere in the prairies, of this woman, military vet, who had a knee replacement done. You know about this?
This was a while ago, wasn't she told that? No. She lost her leg.
She had a knee replacement done at a hospital, local hospital.
And then she lost her leg in the end.
There was an infection, and the surgeon said, I'm going to clean up some of this tissue. I'll come back to stitch you up this afternoon. He cleans up some of the tissue, leaves the wound open for 8 days. No one in the hospital system thinks to, like, this woman's leg got a smell, right? She's got to be yelling for someone to come. No one comes. No one does the surgery. No one cleans up the infection. She ends up having to get her leg amputated. She's a veteran. So when people say, yeah, 1 of every 20 people died in Canada of MAID, and then, you got the MAID enjoyers saying, oh, well, that's people who are terminally ill, whatever. Fine. But, do you really think you have a case that MAID is anything but a cost-saving exercise, at least at some level, when this is the story that's floating around in the media?
You know, the sad thing is there's a lot of mental illness. I don't want it to shine a light at this, but yesterday on the QEW in Oakville, somebody decided to jump off an
jumper.
overpass. It was the way it was reported, right head first, right into an oncoming truck. So there's a lot of people, for whatever reason, they just don't want to deal with the.
We know the reasons, because the country's fucking headed to third world status. I mean, like what I mean, there's of course people who are born with those issues and maybe medications or whatever, drug use, but like, man, the longer I'm in Bitcoin, the more I think that the money is causing basically every problem we have at some level. Like you could have a pie chart for every problem's causes, and money is 1/3 at least in almost every case.
Well, and the good news is there's money for stadiums and shit like that.
Stadiums.
They'll be happy to
give it away. Give it away.
1,500-page budget that they were trying to throw.
Oh my God!
It included money for the Washington, whatever the heck they're called these days.
It's the Redskins stadium. Yeah, like they wanted to re
RFK, buddy.
I'm a Redskins fan, and like it's insane.
What's the new stadium? I remember RFK. That's the one I
RFK.
remember.
The new stadium is right outside Washington. It's like it's in metropolitan area. It's not great in terms of access, but it's a nice spot. The stadium's kind of old and run down, but
the new one
stadium's not. Yeah, it's not new. It's only like it's probably 20 years old now at this point.
And
they get a lot of use. I don't know what a new stadium is in terms of age. Is it 10 years? Is Ivor Wynn new? Is Tim Hortons Field new? I don't know.
You look at the Roman Coliseum 2,000 years later, that motherfucker.
What a surprise,
right? Like, problems with earthquakes and wars, but the thing still stands, right?
Yeah.
Now, 15, 20 years from a stadium or arena, whatever you want to call it, and that's it. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah.
And who gets billed for this in the end? It's
you and me, our kids, are their kids, everyone's kids, down the road.
That's bread and circuses too.
Well, like Paul says, Len, your buddy Paul Krugman says, that is just money we owe to ourselves, right? So no big deal. Rack it up.
Problem. Yeah.
Run it up.
He should voluntarily donate even more and have more put on his shoulders. So
it's just money he owes to himself anyway. He'll get it back.
Yeah. So the money he has in the bank account, just drain that fucking thing. It's from scratch. If he does that, I give him more. Whoever does that.
I love
that, Joey. We're done. We're 141, and that's a long time.
God bless you all. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next week for the Monday show. Maybe I'll be here Wednesday. Maybe I won't. We'll see. But
I'm not going to be here Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll just be you'll just be watching me doing incline bench press with my new power blocks.
So that's going to be on Christmas Day for
Christmas
this Wednesday.
Christmas Day at night, or maybe Thursday at night. Boxing Day. I don't know.
And the one after that is going to be New Year's Day. Not New Year's Eve.
The likelihood of me being free for an hour during the week, if I don't have to be, is very low these days. So
fatherhood does have its
it's definitely got me in a bind. So.
And the fact you're here for an hour and 42,
we gave my wife and I gave my daughter a bath before we got on here. But anyway, story for another time. I'll do a fatherhood episode at some point. Me and you, Len, we'll bring on a couple other Bitcoin fathers and see what's going on. That's it. God bless. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next time.
Don't be a cock.